Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day. Hope everyone's going out and planning on making some gains today. Today is a rest day for moi. I did wake up quite early and was excited. I was like, oh, gym. But then I'm like, shit, it's a rest day. So my training today is going to be some more meditations. I'm really glad that I've started this journey. I know I've been saying it for the past couple episodes now, but it's already changed a lot in my mindset, and I'm going to definitely be talking about it more as I get deeper into it. I'll start providing some of my own opinions on it. This is definitely not going to be the last time I read this, and this is definitely not going to be the last Stoic writing that I read, of course. Yeah, what more can be said? You just have to read for yourself, and it's highly recommended for justifiable reasons. But that's it for that for now. Today, I wanted to pose another question. Like, I know a lot of the questions that I pose follow the same theme, but it's just something that continues to plague my mind. And I know that a lot of it could be attributed to some sort of biases that I'm going to develop due to my reading proclivities, which is, a lot of history, a lot of conquerors, a lot of dictators and such. So, by immersing yourself in that particular subject, you are really catching glimpses a lot of the times of the human condition, which I believe is the most pure form of the human condition. And I've said this before, that, the whole concept of civilization, the whole concept of religion and traditions and structure and laws and rules is to make sure that we're not killing each other, which makes sense. So the question I want to pose, and I'm probably going to pose this again because I haven't read The Prince in a very long time. I'm ordering that today because I really do want to read it. It's been quite a while. And I want to talk briefly about Niccolo Machiavelli and how a lot of people clown him. He's received a lot of backlash over the years over his blatant prescription of using deception, being absolutely ruthless, being absolutely pragmatic, whether it's if you can only be feared or loved, it's better, like he says, it's better be feared than to be loved. And if you can win a battle through deception, then why don't waste a battle in war don't do in war what you could pull off through deception. And one of the great examples that he provided was about ruthlessness was in relation to Augustus. Like, he's like, dude, if you have to be ruthless, if you have to purge your enemies, if you have to destroy them, it is better to get that out of the way. It is better to be absolutely horrific at the beginning of your regime. Wipe out all potential conflict, all potential fomentations of revolution, and people that could, that have a legitimacy to vie for your power structure, or the throne, or whatever the case may be, to be ruthless in the beginning, so that you don't have to continuously attenuate to that across your reign. Because if you are continuously having to execute people, if you're continuously having to show your tyrannical behavior in repressing distentious viewpoints and stuff like that, you're going to ruin the legitimacy and you're going to ruin the foundations of your own regime. It's always going to be up in the air. It's not going to be solid, because you're always going to have a fifth column against you. And the reason Niccolo Machiavelli really attributed to Augustus is because Augustus is known as this great state builder, as this great man who rescued Rome from the abyss of the late Roman Republic and the civil wars, and he was the only one left, and he was the one that really created the princeps and the foundations of Rome. But then people forget that he was called the Boy Butcher. His whole pyramid, it was his whole power, his whole state was built on a pyramid of bones. But no one forgets that, because that was early in the reign. As you get older, he got more peaceful. He didn't have to do any repressions, because guess what? He wiped everybody out. There was no one left. And that's something that he alludes to, well, not alludes to, describes Niccolo Machiavelli in The Prince. And people, I believe, people are against his philosophy because I really do think that moral, like I keep talking about this because it just continues to haunt me, and not haunt me, but it's like I'm very curious to how it's going to develop. Like, cause like I've taken a bite out of the apple and now I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with this. I'm still figuring out. I'm still asking many questions because it's a world that I want to immerse myself in, and it's a world that we live in. So it behoove everybody to be aware that the way that Niccolo Machiavelli tells you to commit politics is the actual way to conduct politics. It's the only way. It's the most efficient way. And we have philosophers that say that's not the way it should be. That we can't be interacting with one another, we can't be deceptive. And it makes sense because you're never going to be able to develop that foundation of trust and community and belonging and all this other stuff that brings us together. But then, if we look past the veil, if we go beyond the pale of morality, if we go beyond the pale of what is righteous and what is truth, and I love Marcus Aurelius because he talks about living in truth and living in justice and living to be kind to one another and to really place yourself in a role in the universe. And then you have this other person, Niccolo Machiavelli, which I believe is actually more true in relation to how the world is actually conducted. Because we are ruthless, we are greedy, we are selfish, we are avaricious, and we are all these things that we might, in the politically correct, in the public, say that these are terrible attributes and these are terrible behaviors that we should not condone as a society, but we conduct ourselves in that manner every day behind closed doors. So there's always this disconnect between reality and the delusion. And the delusion has taken more precedence than reality. And that is one of the key factors as to why Nietzsche was against Christianity, for example, is this fucking highlighting, is this overemphasis and overimportance on a metaphysical world that's on the other side or something, but not focusing on what's the here and now. Not focusing on the facts, not focusing on how things really are and how they should be. Because even all philosophy in itself, especially modern, has been contaminated with Christian rhetoric, has been contaminated with slave religion, has been contaminated with this overemphasis on the metaphysical world and the forms and how they perceive themselves, which is, attributed to Greek philosophy. But we don't focus on the real. We don't focus on that. We don't want it to be real. We don't want to face the fact that being ruthless and being deceptive and not trusting anyone and whatever, and all the other things that Niccolo Machiavelli says, like, he wrote it for a reason. He wrote that because the vast majority of the great conquerors, of the great state builders, of the great leaders throughout the entirety of the world have followed this procedure. And I keep saying, they follow this procedure, but then the verbosity is the flip, or the illusion is that they justify it to the people as this person did me wrong by this way, or the dynastic struggle, or an assassination, or religious intolerance, or whatever the case may be. There's always has to be a casus belli to justify it to the people and to justify it in the history books. Because the winners are the ones that write the history books, right? So it's just always been interesting to me how people clown Niccolo Machiavelli for saying what he said, and he's saying, he's just like, you can't be like this. Like, I've heard Jordan Peterson say the same thing. Like, you can't be like that. That's narcissistic, and that's not how you should conduct yourself. You should conduct yourself like this and 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 this. I'm having a lot of problems with his rhetoric. I'm having a lot of problems because he's turning out to be a lot of what I thought he was better than. You're saying that Niccolo Machiavelli is not right, but then who the fuck are you to say that you're right? I feel like a lot of the ideals are nothing more than idealistic fantasies and fallacies. Like, that's why I have an argument with some of my friends sometimes, because They start saying we should be like this and we should be like that and we should conduct ourselves like that. And like woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't fucking work. And obviously every single conversation you are going to have is going to dab in the realm of the ideal. But in the back of your head, you have to constantly take into account how we actually conduct with one another. And I am no longer really paying attention to morals. I'm not really no longer paying attention to morals and justice and all these banners that whip up the poor every couple of generations so there could be a revolution just so they could get fucked over again. Which is the same shit all the time. Banners of justice and truth and equality and law. And what's really comical is that they preach these things, but they do the complete opposite in order to achieve those goals. You know, like Christianity. They committed anti-moral acts to be the moral high ground. You know, that's why I hate this Christian rhetoric that's fucking coming out of this fucking guy sometimes. I saw, like, you know, like for them to be the number one religion, to be the moral guide, the moral compass, they had to commit egregious acts. That would probably make Nico Machiavelli pretty happy. Pretty proud. Oh shit, they actually listened to me type shit. He probably got inspiration from the Christian church itself and the way it conducted itself in order to place itself as the highest institution. They committed anti-moral acts. They lied and they slandered and they persecuted and they murdered and they did everything. They did all of that shit. They did all of that. So for you to say that you are the moral ground, but you committed immoral acts. So who really is in the wrong here? Who really is the one that's living in the world of the ideal a little bit too much? Who's living in this God delusion? A lot of us just live in this God delusion because we want the world to be something that it's not. And we just waste so much time in not realizing that. And that's why the people in power remain there. And that's why we as the poor remain where we are. Because we don't want to accept that. We don't want to believe that's how the world works. Like, no, we're better than that, and that's how it should be. And we just constantly live in this fallacy. And I really do believe the people in power go beyond the pale of morality. And there's a reason why Christianity was placed as the dominant religion for a reason, which is going to be another episode, because then this shit's going to get too long. But that's definitely going to be something I'm going to talk about even more, which is probably going to be an add-on to this. But it's just very interesting, you know, the people who are the highest moral standing have committed the most egregious acts to get there. You know, and it continues to happen to this day, and it continues to be pervasive, but we just don't want to accept it. And it's quite alarming, and I feel like that paradox, that dichotomy that is going on in our minds is really causing us a lot of damage. But like they say, you know, once you take a bite out of the apple, there is no turning back. And as I continue to read and as I continue to grow, I have no idea where this thought process is going to go. I do have some inclination as to where it might lead me. But like I said before, I believe it behooves you to be aware of this fundamental aspect of our human interaction, of the human experience. You know, to go beyond the God delusion. So I'll leave y'all with that to think about for a little bit. Hope y'all have a great day. It is a great weekend coming up. We got Martin Luther King Day on Monday, which is a day off for me. I'm gonna go ahead and keep reading. Get your reading up, get your gains up, even though those are the same things. But yeah, I feel like, you know, I've said it before, I feel like people train too much their bodies and don't realize that the mind is just much more important. So hope you have a great day. Love y'all and peace.